So good morning, everyone. Oops. A minute. I've lost everything.
Yeah, that happened to me last meeting.
How do I get back?
Kind of throws your screens out of whack there.
It does when you start recording a webinar. It kind of throws things off. There we are. We're back on track now. So, all right. Good morning, everyone, and thanks everyone for being here. So, as chair of the Florida Virtual School Board of Trustees, I should call to order this quarterly business meeting of the board. As always, it's thank you to our fellow board members, the four of us that came on board just a short time ago, and to our CEO, Dr. Alguez, and all of the Florida Virtual School leadership team for helping us prepare for the meetings. And that has been the case all along since we started as board members. The team at Florida Virtual School has really been supportive in bringing us up to speed and preparing us for the board meetings and having all the materials there ready for us and making it understandable for us as we go through. So with that, I would like for us to proceed with the board roll call. Mr. Moore, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Dr. John Wartrett.
Here.
Ms. Linda Ryder.
Here.
Mr. Edward Posoli.
Here.
And Mr. Robert Canarins.
Here.
Thank you very much. And before we start, obviously it's good to give an opportunity just for the other board members to make some comments if they so wish. So, Madam Co-Chair, Ms. Ryder, Linda.
No, just good morning and hello to everyone. That's it.
Board Member Conaghan.
Yeah, no, looking forward to this morning. We got some things to talk about, so it's going to be a great morning. Looking forward to it.
Very nice shirt, sir, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I noticed your shirt.
Thank you, Bruce.
And Board Member Ed Fazzuli, Mr. Ed Fazzuli.
Other than good morning, that's all.
Well, great, thank you. That keeps it short. We'll have an opportunity at the end to make further comments if we do. So we'll now turn to our minutes for the board meeting. We have for review and approval minutes from the board meeting of March 2nd, 2021 as a quarterly meeting, and the April 6th, 2021 agenda review workshop meeting. So what we're going to do is there is an omnibus motion to adopt and approve the recommended action as items 2.1 and 2.2. Is there a motion to accept?
I make the motion to accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 So it's all, no opposed, so the motion carries unanimously. Next, the board will take up any public comments. Before we begin, please note, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Speakers must state their first and last name for the record before delivering their comments. The entirety of this meeting, including the public comment period, is being recorded. Okay. Operator, are there any members of the public who have called in and wish to speak to the board?
There's nobody on the call so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, this concludes the public comment period. We next turn to agenda item 4.1 through 4.3 for CEO comments, reports, and presentations. Dr. Alguez, it's over to you.
Thank you, sir. First, we'd like to start off with student achievement section. We have a slideshow here to present to you. It's a good reminder of why we're all here. We go on to the next slide. I want to congratulate our students who entered the Florida Virtual School National Science Honor Society's second annual Virtual Science Fair Showcase. We had more than 50 Florida Virtual School Flex and full-time students participate. Next slide there. Topics range from plants and Arctic animals to golf swings and more. Now, every year, FLVS students compete in the annual FLVS GOB, a geography contest, in addition to our science fairs, and more than 40 FLVS Flex students in grade 4 through 8 registered for a chance to compete. Top 10 students moved to the state competition this month, and we want to congratulate Florida Virtual School's first, second, and third place winners, Andrew, Ariana, and Solan, respectively. We want to also congratulate all of our FLVS French Club students who competed at the annual state French competition. FLVS earned second place overall out of 23 schools. We took home 18 supérieurs, 9 excellents, and un bon. Forgive me for my French. Thank you to our outstanding teacher, mentors, and sponsors who devoted countless hours to help prepare our students. Also, last night, it's not on this slide deck yet because I just received it late in the evening. We had some of our kids come in placed first in the state and placed in other rankings in a debate competition. So congratulations to them. We'll probably have for the next meeting that information in more detail. Thank you, Mr. Warren. Next slide there. Each year, Florida School District selects their top high school junior in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, for the Sunshine State Scholars Program. And the purpose of this program is to recognize students that are achieving excellence in STEM education, to assist students and their parents in preparing for post-secondary educational pursuits, and to enrich students' interest in continuing the path to a STEM-related career. We'd like to congratulate Zachary Donaldson for being the FLVS full-time Sunshine State Scholar. Zachary and his mom, Angela Lambert, are here with us today. Welcome. And Zachary and our mom, do you have any, want to share with us today, any of your experiences? He's been with us since he was in 8th grade.
Well, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude for this opportunity to represent FLVS full-time as this year's Sunshine State Scholar. My journey with FLVS started in the 8th grade, and I have been enjoying it immensely ever since. I love the self-directed learning combined with the pay schedule that keeps me on track. And I also love how dedicated the instructors are at supporting me so I can do my very best in each subject. Whenever I have a question or need clarification, I know I can always go to them for help and expect great feedback that always helps me to get back on the right track again to finish whatever assignment I'm working on and have confidence that I'll get a good grade. The live lessons are also extremely helpful. And additionally, I love the clubs here at FLVS and the connections I've made through them with my peers and club sponsors. And I just want to say again that I'm so honored and thrilled to be chosen to participate in June at the extraordinary 2-day program in Orlando and network with my fellow scholars and universities that specialize in the STEM fields. And as a special note for Dr. Watret, my top choice college is Embry-Riddle for their space physics program.
That's awesome. Great to hear that. And we'll keep in touch when that application goes through.
And I just want to say I'm so proud of my son, and I'm so grateful for FLVS, the teachers and the club sponsors. Zachary has had a great experience with both the learning and with the clubs, and he's able to participate in the extracurricular STEM clubs and has enjoyed it immensely. And I just want to again thank FLVS for this opportunity for him. And we have had a wonderful experience at FLVS.
Thank you, Zachary and Mrs. Lambert, for joining us today. We're very proud to have you representing Florida Virtual School, Zachary. Congratulations again, and congratulations to all our students and teachers and of the amazing accomplishments that they perform day in and day out. That's it for that section. Mr. Chair.
Right. So thank you. And then again, Zachary, congratulations on the award that you have had. And look forward to seeing you at Embry-Riddle. That's an exciting time for you. And it's important, what you said is so important, that what we're doing and what Florida Virtual School is doing, that this non-traditional online education is an important way the students can achieve their goals and still be collaborators in parts of competitions such as the science fairs and the clubs and organizations that are in there. So it's still a very active learning modality, even though it's virtual and online. So credit again to all the teachers and the faculty that are supporting this and all the staff that are doing it. And we end up having such great students such as Zachary doing it.
Yes, we do.
Board, any other board comments?
I just want to congratulate him and his parents. I always want to include the parents when they do well. So I don't know if they're still this, but congratulations to the parents on raising a son like that. And yeah, good job.
Yep, they're still listening. They're on the.
Okay, so yeah, Mom, congratulations to you, both of you.
I'd like to hear from Zachary. What was your favorite STEM club?
Give us 1 second to bring him back up. Welcome back, Zachary. You're muted. Not sure if you got to hear the question.
Yes, sir. I heard the question and my mom had to run back to work. My favorite STEM club is probably Coding Club.
Which one is that?
Coding Club, the 9th.
Computer programming.
Yes.
Coding.
Okay, coding for computer.
Solid STEM student there. That's great. You'll do well in the engineering side.
Thanks so much.
Well, Zachary, congratulations to you. Great job.
Good job. Yep. Awesome.
All
Thanks so
right.
much.
Great. Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you.
Now, and Dr. Alvarez, that's all on that section, correct?
1 second. Okay. Mr. McGill, if you can go ahead and take poor Mr. Donaldson out of the panelist section. All right, the next section is going to be a budget update that I give the board every meeting. Later, you're going to have a budget amendment that we'll review, that Kim Poling will review. And right now, I'd like to just give you an overview of where we stand fiscally since the last meeting. So once again, these are our completions on this chart, same chart that I show every meeting. The blue and the coral color or orange, depending on your screen, are the to-date numbers. So we had last year is the blue, 313,791 completions. This year, 390,644 to the same time frame. Last year, for the entire year, the fiscal year was 468,432. That's the green, and the purple is our projected. And our projected, we have to vary throughout the course of the year depending on many factors, as you'll see in franchises in a moment here. But this year is for Flex. So for Flex, we're projecting 591,983 completions, which is the most we've ever had in history. Our virtual learning labs, again, the blue to the orange is the to-date numbers, 21 the prior year, 25 this year, and expected year-to-date, 32.6 was the prior year, 38.116 this year. For full-time, 29.5 to 74.8 was the to-date numbers, and then last year was 59.9 by completion and 131.7 expected for the end of the year. Next slide, please. So the generated amounts of money, revenue, and obligations, expenditures for that program. The first graph were beginning fund balances. Again, it was 69 last year, and we're expecting 88 this year. Revenue last year was 161,161 to 156,116 this year. Again, that goes to the emergency orders 6 and 7. So for the year, we had the prior year 219,753,000, and we're expecting 260 million this year. Our expenditures, I'm going to jump over the obligations. The expenditures, the blue 149 to 190, current to date number comparisons from last year to this year. And year end last year was 200 million, and we're expecting 261 million this year. Obligations for the current year are 56 of what we have to finish out the year from now to the end of the year, 56.7 million, and the prior year at this point was 45.3. So after all is said and done with our beginning fund balances where they were, adding the revenue, subtracting the expenditures and obligations, our ending fund balance last year ended at 88.7. This year we're expecting 87. We might even come out pretty close to breaking even in terms of our fund balance. So it could be that by the end of the year, we won't have to have gone into our fund balance at all to help support the course of this year. What we've done, throughout the year, we've implemented a bunch of savings factors. So if you look at the prior year, or the prior meetings numbers to this year, you'll see some differences here based on the expected revenues and some of the expenditures that have been used to date. And then the next slide is our enterprise funds. They're the beginning balances for the enterprise funds from the prior year to this year expected. The revenue last year for this same time frame was 20.3 million, and for this same time frame now it's 66.6 million. We ended the year with 30.4 last year, and we're expecting 83.8 this year. This is lower than the prior predictions because that one had to the end of January. The semester ended in January for almost all the school districts in Florida. And a bunch of students at the districts were taken out of labs and sent back to the brick and mortar buildings. So that number dropped from our initial predictions. Again, the expenditures, 9.7 to 15.0. The blue and the orange are year-to-date numbers from last year to this year. And then the green to the blue last year ended at 16.1. This year's expected to end at 30.2. With the obligations remaining at this time of the year, 2.6 last year, and what we're expecting to the end of the year is 3.8. Transfers out go to our funds for curriculum development, computer programming, et cetera, those things for the improvement and maintenance of many of the programs that we're doing, our R&D. And finally, again, starting with the beginning balance, going through the revenue, subtracting expenditures, obligations, and transfers out. Our ending fund balance last year was 17.4, and our prediction this year is 65.0, roughly. So that's a summary of overview of the finances to date.
Okay. So everything's going well.
So the next section, we have the graduation is coming up. Just to inform all of you, we've sent you an email. We're hosting both an in-person and a virtual graduation. We're going to do both this year. You were sent to save the date from Mr. Moore. The in-person graduation will be held on May 27th at 1 p.m. at the University of Central Florida Arena. The virtual graduation will be June 3rd at 4 p.m. Please note that the in-person ceremony, the block of time for availability would be from 12 to 3. And the virtual ceremony block will be streamed from 3:45 to 5:45. Currently, we have approximately 35% of our 1,091 graduating seniors planning to attend the in-person graduation ceremony. So we have approximately 350 to 400 students will be in person. We will be changing some of our graduation procedures to meet the CDC and UCF guidelines. And I want to thank Board Chair Wattrette for accepting the invitation to speak in person as the chair of the board at graduation, and also to record a video for the virtual graduation. This concludes the CEO report, and I turn it back over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. So in terms of the graduation, there's 350 or so that you said is going to attend in person. Are they all from Florida, or are there some from other areas as well?
They're all from Florida.
All from Florida. That's great. It's good that they're traveling in to attend the graduation. It's an important milestone for them going forward.
Yeah, we were happy to be able to do it in person for those who wanted in person, and still have it also streaming for those who would prefer to still do it that way.
Well, it's great, and the numbers are good. And again, I mean, after hearing what Zachary said and what we're doing. The importance of online education is a key part of do both K through 12 and tertiary education nowadays. And it just shows that the students do get the same meaningful quality education that they do in the brick and mortar. And they can take advantage of many, many things and be very successful going through it. So again, I must emphasize the credit to the yourself and your staff that keep this moving forward for those lots of students as it is. So it's a major organization. So thank you. Board members, any other comments?
I'd like to just echo that. I have a son that's got needs, ADHD, and got on with, the experts at Florida Virtual School, and they're helping me guide through that. So it's not just the mainstream, but the exceptional kids that need extra learning and stuff. So I'm very impressed with the whole program.
I agree.
And I too want to say how impressive it is. I mean, I don't think any of us actually realized how impressive it is. And I'm going to talk for the teachers again. I have to. What a great job they do too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Just yesterday, the Senior Director of Instruction and I were going over AP scores. It's just amazing how well the kids perform on those exams.
Yep.
And all of the exams. I mean, the AP Computer Sciences, we were talking with Zachary, the scores in that test were awesome. I mean, that's not an easy exam. Our kids did well on it.
Yeah. So I think you showed us numbers last time and how well they did. So yeah, congratulations to all of you.
Dr. Alves, if I may, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I would ask that based upon what we've experienced over the last year and a half with the pandemic, and I do think Florida Virtual is in a unique position to identify a handful of things, takeaways from the pandemic of what we've experienced and what we've learned. And I think it's something that should be gathered and put together in a report for the department, as well as the legislature, and perhaps have a third party verify some of our own observations. And but I do think it's a great story to tell. But I think there are lessons that we've learned, that you've experienced, that the team's experienced in delivering quality education virtually to students of Florida and outside of Florida. So I do think it's something we should capsulize in a report and share.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that, because it really is. Online education, it's evolved over time, and especially more so in the last 10 years. But there's still many people don't understand that online education can be very much an active learning environment as well as brick and mortar. So it's not self-paced. It's not rushing through classes to get a minimum score on tests. We've seen that it is a very active learning environment, and the students are succeeding with higher scores in some cases than the normal mainstream education system. So I agree that these, especially during this time of the pandemic and where everyone's been forced to pivot into, and I'll say it, remote learning as opposed to online learning, because what you're doing is actually online learning, which is different than what happened before. And it shows that it really, pandemic or no pandemic, the education moves on at a normal pace, because they're in that active learning environment and online platform with the LMS and everything. So I agree with documenting some of those successes would be great. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda items, and that's agenda items 5.1 through 8.1. Again, Dr. Alguez, it's over to you.
Thank you, sir. We have 4 items for consent approvals. There are 2 contracts, one for major medical administrative services only and pharmacy provider, and then the Text Help Inc. Master Service Agreement for Speech Stream Solutions. Also, our employee contract templates, the 2021-22 FLVS employee calendar, and one finance matter of accounts receivable debt write-off. And we request the approval for those recommended actions on those consent items.
All right, thank you. Board members, any questions? We did cover these in the workshop. Any additional questions on any of these items, 5.1 through 8.1?
Chair, I'd move approval of the consent items.
Second?
I'll second.
And just to know that this is an omnibus motion to adopt and approve the recommended actions, agenda items 5.1, 5.2, 6.1, 7.1, and 8.1. We have had a motion to approve in a second. Any additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. So, Dr. Alvarez, please introduce our first discussion item, please.
Thank you. Item 9.1, proposed discussion for 2020-2021 budget amendment. We've proposed a third budget amendment in order to accurately reflect our revenues and expenditures, and Kim Poling will be reviewing this for you. Kim?
Days and Board of Trustees.
Good morning.
Good morning. The next financial item presented to the board is budget amendment number 3. This is for the Special Revenue Fund, federal grants. On March the 2nd, 2021, FLVS received an additional allocation related to the ESSER Expanding Access to Virtual Learning Award in the amount of $275,117.29. The purpose of this amendment is the need for additional funding to accommodate increased call volumes by expanding educator hosting capacity, storage capacity, and various software programs. The effective date on this amendment is 2/26/2021. On February the 28th, 2021, FLVS received a new federal through state award, ESSER High Quality Curriculum for Reading in the amount of $55,873. The focus of these funds is to support LEAs with high quality reading curriculum that is evidence-based, targeted to elementary schools with the greatest achievement gap, and implemented for K-3 students who have been identified with reading deficiencies or substantial deficiencies in reading and therefore receive Tier 2 or Tier 3 instructional support. The fiscal impact to the school by accepting these awards is additional federal ESSER funding in the amount of $330,990.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions on this? No, hearing none. Is there a motion to adopt and approve the recommended action on agenda item 9.1, and that is to approve the third amendment to the FY 2021 Florida Virtual Schools budget? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion. We
A
approve.
second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Dr. Alvarez?
Thank you,
Next
thank
item.
you, thank you, Kim. Next item is for discussion is performance pay plan for FLVS President's Chief Executive Officer, and Sam Verghese will be reviewing this item for you. Sam?
Thanks, Dr. Ray, and good morning, board members.
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, sir. The proposed CEO performance pay plan, it's submitted to the board for your consideration. And this is from a request from the board members at our last quarterly meeting on March 2nd. And the plan has been developed in consultation with the CEO, Office of General Counsel, other FLVS personnel, and outside special counsel for FLVS. And our own FLVS General Counsel has thoroughly vetted and reviewed this pay plan on behalf of the board, and has determined that the form and substance of the plan are legally sound and consistent with all the applicable board policies and laws and regulations of the state of Florida. The CEO has also had the opportunity to consult with his own legal counsel and likewise supports the proposed plan. So with that, Dr. Watret, I stand ready with Dr. Daggett for any questions on this.
All right, thank you. So, board members, anyone get any comments on this? Questions?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna kind of pull this not for a vote and revisit it. So is this a motion to approve this?
Well, that's something that I think I've got some questions as well that I would like to have an opportunity with the board members to discuss further.
Okay, yeah, why don't you start and we'll go around the table.
So do we want to have the discussion now, or do we want to postpone it till later?
I think we could do it now.
Okay. So with overall, I feel that the plan is good in terms of the way it is, and of course it's looking at it is a state education, so therefore the monies for the bonus is appropriately defined in the organization. The one part is, and this I'm comfortable with it, but I would like to have a discussion, is the cap of 30%, whether it should be 30% or 20 or 25. I'd like to hear some discussion from the other board members on what the cap should be for this.
I'm very comfortable with the cap being at 30%. So my vote is for that.
Okay.
I agree with my fellow board member. I'm comfortable with the 30%.
Okay.
Yeah, my issue, and we have a unique, and I spoke to outside counsel on this, and I just, we have a unique thing. We have a government entity that actually has a business side to it of going out and generating additional revenue. And the goal is to get that additional revenue to cover it, so there's no state money going to this way down the road. So I don't know, we're kind of in uncharted waters. And when I question, and no offense, David, but general counsel getting the same incentive as a CEO of an organization, it doesn't feel right to me. And that was my conversation with outside counsel. So, I would prefer my vote would be to get some more outside opinions on what a fair compensation, not only for, the CEO and general counsel, but for the whole organization, and not open up something that could, not be a standard. So I'm not an expert in this type of, I don't think anybody is, because it's an unusual situation. But I think we should really look hard at what we're doing here for the long term and not have to come back and change something.
Mr. Chairman?
I will say it's not unusual for 501c3 organizations to have an incentive, a bonus plan for the CEOs in the organization. So I'm comfortable with the plan. And I think it's been laid out in such a way that it's looking, the funds are looking not from the state side, but from the other parts of the organization, so that it makes it appropriate and to do so in that. And hearing from other two board members that are comfortable with the cap on that, I can go with that. I think on this, we're only looking at the CEO document at the moment in terms of the contract and what's in the contract with the CEO. We're not looking at general counsel at the moment on this. So any additional comments, or do we want to? I guess I need to ask, do we want to proceed with a vote, or do the board members feel we need additional discussion on this and not go to vote at this time?
Chair, I have a question. Sorry, Linda, go ahead.
Sam was going to say something, and I kind of want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Member Ryder and Chairman Wattrette, just exactly what you said. This is just for the CEO contract. Per our discussion from the last meeting, the general counsel performance pay plan was removed and is not here today. So that just want to make sure for clarification purposes, so everybody understood that. And just also as a point of clarification, when we're talking about the revenues and the operating income and how that looks, this is all from expenses and revenue that's outside of Florida. So not Florida taxpayer money. I think that's the key point here. I want to make sure is very clear in what we're discussing as well. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thanks,
and if I can just chime in as well, I thank you for that, Mr. Verghese, for clarifying that. You know, there was the plan to present a performance pay plan for the CEO and then for me. The performance pay plan for me as the general counsel, obviously the attorneys in my office are conflicted. So it needed to be, the board really needed to be represented by outside counsel. And that was Rumber Kirk Caldwell, and a partner with that firm who is expert, I know is expert at all sorts of state agency contracts, to include executives. So right now, the board has before it the CEO's performance pay contract, the performance pay plan. It's really formulating and gelling what was promised, if you recall, back in September 2019. And I, as legal counsel, as the board's counsel, the buck stops with me with respect to the legal vetting as to both the form and the substance. That's why great care was put into the executive summary, where I attest to that. Okay. And I had the benefit of outside counsel as well, because I know I work with Dr. Algaze every day. And you want to make sure as an attorney representing the board that you have really vetted things and you have as many eyes on the substance and the form of this performance pay plan as possible. And I can tell you it's been vetted thoroughly. So with respect to, is it a good idea or is it a good deal? Is it reflective of comparator markets? That is beyond the scope of what the Office of General Counsel does. However, in putting this together, and it took many weeks to put this together, to ensure that it is surgically funded exclusively from out-of-state dollars. That is, it's not reliant at all on Florida tax funds. And it makes sense that we incentivize the executive folks, incentivize those folks who are charged with improving upon those revenues from out of state. And what does that do? It reduces the organization's overall reliance on public dollars of the state. And therefore, it is very good for our system. Since we are a component of the K-12 system, it's a very good thing. I can tell you from the comparators that I've seen, and we are unique, but there are others out there for whom I worked, including public utilities, marine terminals, airport authorities. Each of them had executive officers. Citizens Insurance is another example. They're not going to be exactly alike, okay? Because the content of the work is not exactly alike. The deliverable isn't exactly like. And here, I think that everyone would agree, this is the unicorn. So we took great care. I just wanted to make that very clear for the record, that it's solely tied to and incentivizes that out-of-state revenue.
All right.
Okay,
Good.
yeah, listen, I apologize to my other board members. I misinterpreted a text. David and I text over the weekend, and I thought the whole thing was being pulled, but I see that now that's the general counsel, which is what I was diving into. So I'm good with the 30% and the performance plan for the CEO.
Okay, so hearing the comments from all the other board members, I'm comfortable to move this forward. So is there a motion to adopt and approve the recommended action on agenda item 10.1, and that is to approve and authorize execution of addendum number 1 to March 2nd, 2001, addended contract for employment for FLVS Virtual School President and CEO, and that's the CEO performance pay plan. The form and substance of which shall be the same or substantially similar to that which is attached to the Exhibit 1 that we've got. So do I have here a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Dr. Alves, let's move on to 11.1.
Okay, and first I'd like to thank you all. This it's nothing I was expecting, so I appreciate your all willingness to do this. Then I won't let you down. Thank you. Next item is the FLVS Foundation. We need approval of candidates for services of the FLVS Foundation's Board of Directors. The FLVS Foundation is a supplemental support organization which supports Florida Virtual School. As a not-for-profit, the foundation is governed by a board of directors, which consists of no less than 5 members. Per FLVS board policy, candidates for memberships on the foundation's board of directors must be approved by the FLVS Board of Trustees. And we request the approval of the recommended action.
On this, and I know that the board is going to approve it. So the recommendation to the members is that for the directors is coming from the board of foundation itself, and then we just have to look at the resumes, their philanthropic giving and opportunity, and then approve it. Is that approve all members? Is there any guidelines in terms of the reason we would not approve a member on it, given the limited information that we have in some of these potential board members?
Go ahead, David.
So in answer to that question, a resounding no. This is where, there is an absence of guidance in the law. So you default back to your fiduciary duty. That comes with everything that you do. Okay, this is it's called a supplemental support organization. Of course, we know that it really is a direct support organization, like most school districts, perhaps all, and many different agencies, to include DOE, has its own direct support organization. And there similarly are little to no laws or regulations that give those boards guidance. So to me, I think you just revert back to your, not revert back to it, rely on and exercise those fiduciary duties. Is this a good thing for the organization?
Okay. And I understand that the board can be up to 25, is that correct? I mean, at the moment we've got a small number, but that will grow through time.
That's per the governing documents of the foundation itself, yes.
And they are planning on growing their board. They've rebooted themselves and they're planning on growing.
Board members, any questions on this?
None.
Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt and approve the recommended action agenda item 11.1 to approve the appointment of two new members and approve the reappointment of the three current members to the Florida Virtual School Foundation Board of Directors as described in the executive summary? Could I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Dr. Alves?
Chair, hang on one second. Before we leave that item, I would ask that the Dr. A, your team pay close attention to the foundation. It's been my experience that that's where some organizations go awry, is their secondary foundation. So please handle that with all due diligence.
Absolutely. Just to give some history, when I first arrived here, there were several members, all good people, but they were doing business with us and didn't think that that was a good situation. So had a conversation with them, and that's why we're in the situation now where they're finding people to replace some who were, again, doing a great job, but were doing business with us, and it looked like a conflict. So we decided to move that. So yeah, we are in communication with them. Mike Miller and Eric Braun work with the director closely, and we have a good relationship. And you are welcome to sit in on any of their meetings at any time you'd like.
Well, yeah, I think it appropriate that
I would advise against that. I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think appropriate every so often that we do get an update on the activities of the foundation to see that they're meeting their goals, and for us to understand what the goals are of the foundation, if they're in terms of the different giving plans that they want to put in place, and if they're meeting those. So
that's a great recommendation, and we'll add it to the agenda to update you. I just got a kick out of Mr. Boswelli's face when I said you can sit in on the meetings. If you need a level of additional comfort is what I meant.
All right.
So I just wanted to make sure there was a motion, there was a vote.
Yes.
We did. Yeah, we had it was passed, carried unanimously.
Okay.
Which I had additional comments after the vote.
Okay. All right. Would you
Dr.
like me to
Alves?
continue? We're proposing FLVS board policies, policy revisions, and repeals or strike-throughs of policies. And Dr. D'Agata will review these with you.
So I won't take much time at all today. Really, it is just, and speaking of, support organizations that have gone awry from time to time, one of the things that we do in our repeals and strike-throughs is the removal of our board members, one or more of our board members, that is the Board of Trustees, to serve on the foundation's board. That was built into the policies of this board, and that is being stricken. The proposal is that it's stricken. I believe that was already in front of you, and action can be taken later. We have to first, when we revise policies, when we add to policies, when we repeal them, we must provide notice and publish the changes, because we serve the public. The public should have an opportunity to review and an opportunity to chime in. So at this point, we are, and this is part of our overall policy overhaul, right? We're going to come to the board with as many as you can handle as we improve upon our policies. Here you have 13 policies, some of which overwrite a handful of FLVS existing policies. Where they overwrite them, they improve upon them. And then you have a series of current policies, that is Board of Trustees policies, that are being repealed or stricken in part. If you look at the agenda item for this, number 16 is the FLVS Foundation one. What I just mentioned, that's the only one out of these really that is being stricken in part. Everything else is okay in that policy. These other things where you see contract authority, best and brightest, so on and so forth, those are complete strike-throughs and replacements. For contract authority, if you'll recall, that's baked into the board's new and improved bylaws. A part of it is reserved to your purchasing policy, which is upcoming. Best and brightest was repealed by law. So obviously it needs to be removed from the policies. So that's what we ask in this agenda item, just for authority to publish the proposed changes. And then we'll come back to you June 22, I think is the next meeting. And that is where these things are teed up for the board's consideration to adopt. That's where you have your hearing on the changes.
Thank you, David. Board members, any questions, any discussion on this? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt and approve the recommended action on agenda item 12.1 to authorize publication of proposed FLVS board policies and proposed board policy revisions and repeal strike-throughs, the form and substance of which shall be the same or substantially similar to those that are attached in exhibits 1 through 22. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Alguez?
You're muted, Dr. A.
Muted.
It's probably just as well. What I was saying is you're going to have more policies in June to do the same thing with as you're doing today with these for the first reading, as you do the second reading on these. The next item is the Florida Department of Education emergency order. On April 9th, the Commissioner of Education, Richard Corcoran, issued DOE Emergency Order 2021 EO2. The order points out the importance of student assessments and reference changes that have been made to ensure every student can be safely tested. It also acknowledges that due to individual challenges and circumstances facing students, FDOE anticipates that a lower percentage of students may be tested this year. Accordingly, the order suspends several statutory requirements pertinent to student assessment and authorizes school districts to make individualized decisions related to student progression and graduation in keeping with the best interests of each student. And we ask the board to approve the recommended actions.
So this is going to approve, so without the standardized testing, the students are going to be moved from 3rd to 4th and then 10th to 11th, correct? Is that what the?
So they're not removing standardized testing. The standardized testing is still going to occur. It's how the results will be used, or if there are no results, if a student does not take the standardized testing. It initially is looking at all grade levels for promotion, but the ones where the test is actually used for graduation is the FSA 10th grade reading and the algebra end of course exam. And for 3rd grade promotion, the FSA language arts. is looked at for third grade promotion. There's always been a possibility for a third grader to be promoted to fourth grader on what's called a portfolio, which is looking at the sum total of their work and not just at the results of one exam. And the teachers have had that flexibility of offering those kids who may not have passed the exam with the score needed to be able to be promoted based on the preponderance of the evidence of the work that they do. So this is having the board authorized to waive those student assessments to be used for graduation and for the promotion of third graders, but also there is a provision in some of the exams and some of the end of course exams that it counts as 30% of the final grade of a student. So again, if they don't take that exam, it could affect their final grade. So this would allow, again, the board to waive that so that the students can.
So what overall, what impact do you think this will have, given the historical numbers that, especially from the third grade and 10th, how many more will be passed forward or not?
So don't have a predictive number on that. There aren't a whole lot that don't. As was mentioned earlier in terms of the curriculum, our curriculum is based on the standards, and there is assessment for each one of those standards along the way as the students progress through the course. So the teachers have a very good idea who's mastered it because they have the assessment results for each standard in the program. So it's not a whole lot that need the additional help. So I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. Again, our graduation rate last year was high again because the kids didn't have, it was a similar situation last year. Last year, the tests were suspended. There were no tests, and this is similar to what was approved last year. However, this year, there is going to be testing because we need it in order to find the progress of the students along the way. But it's up to the board to be able to waive some of these requirements in order to allow the teachers to determine who it is that should graduate or be promoted, et cetera, for their final grade in the course.
And then, I know, and that's the one thing, the teachers are on top of on who the students are and know whether the students are progressing or not. And I think in many cases in the online world, there's more impact and tracking of the students than there are in other areas. So I'm comfortable with that. Any other comments from the board members?
Dr. Ray, the motion in front of us really would put us in compliance with the EO2, correct?
Correct.
And then, but what if we chose not to provide the waivers and maintain the normal standard outside of the EO? Is that an option for us?
Yes, I think they've allowed it to each local school district to make that decision as they see fit.
And that would impact us if we chose not to utilize the flexibility inside of EO2 and maintain what would be considered a normal standard outside of the EO. How would that impact our operations?
Well, say for instance, there are some kids whose parents or the kids don't feel comfortable having them test in the brick and mortar location due to health and safety, et cetera, which is what this order is about. They wouldn't have a result for being able to count towards, say, graduation, for instance. It might impact students being able to graduate.
I would just like to respectfully chime in as well. With respect to our full-time kids, thousands of kids throughout Florida, their testing is done at their this brick and mortar school where they live, that they're in the attendance boundary of that school. Now, districts, there are 67 of them, of course, and we are unsure which districts are going to do what. If districts do not test and we do not waive, it places the student and parent in a complicated predicament that they cannot overcome. So that's one of the things that we were most sensitive to in interpreting this and teasing out each one of the areas of authority left to the board. So I wanted to just point that out as well.
So without waiving, it would put the FLVS students at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and it
Without waiving, yes.
Right,
Look, I have all three of my kids here,
right.
and they are testing in the locally zoned brick and mortar.
Yeah,
So I can tell you from experience, it would be an impossibility if that brick and mortar decided we're not going to give X test, or a district just like this organization can waive all of them and just not offer them. And so that's a predicament, yes.
I think this EO is a pretty fair compromise because
I think it is.
there's no testing. So I think this is a pretty fair compromise, giving you options. So.
I agree, and I think we support the teachers and what they know about the students as well.
Right.
So,
Right.
any other comments? So hearing none, is there a motion to adopt and approve recommended action on agenda item 13.1 with the 5 statements, which I'm not going to read through?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Dr.
Aye.
Alves,
Sorry,
is
Matt.
Sorry, somebody.
there a comment? No.
Okay. The next item has to do with the organizational meeting date. As we approach the 2021-22 school year, we need to begin to consider potential dates for future quarterly Board of Trustees meetings. And we recommend September 14th, 2021 as the first meeting of the 21-22 fiscal year. And would like to combine that with the first quarterly meeting with the organizational meeting, at which you can consider all the other dates for 2021-22. We've had some dates sent to you. Again, they're just tentative. Have tried to massage them as best we could with everyone's schedule. There's still a couple of dates that need to land on, and all of those again can be changed by the board at any time. But just trying to give you all a level of comfort moving into the next year with where the dates might land. And with that, we request the approval of recommended action.
Well, and I am comfortable with that. And I know for the December timeframe is I've got some conflicts that we're working through, but I'll hopefully soon be able to provide those concrete dates in there. Any other comments from?
On the attachment, we have those as to be determined, so that again, those you don't have to do until the actual first organizational meeting.
That's good. Any other comments from board members? So is there a motion to adopt and approve the recommended action agenda item 14.1 to set September 14th, 2021 as the date for the combined organizational and first quarterly meeting of the Board of Trustees for fiscal year 21-22? Do you hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So this concludes the discussion agenda portion of our meeting. Next, we'll turn to the General Counsel for comments, report, and presentation. Dr. Dagat.
So brace yourselves. I was going to have no comment at all. I was going to say no. But really, I just want to point out one thing, and really it's something that we all know that I want the public to know, that we have the minimum amount of board members serving this organization. And we know that these board members have gone to substantial personal sacrifice to attend each and every one of these meetings. And they realize that, I'm not just blowing wind here, okay? This is something that needs to be known, that placing the organization ahead of personal preferences. And that is something that is honorable, of course, and something that we applaud. And it's another reason that just to avoid the personal sacrifice of each and every one of these board members, that we do our best, and we're doing our best to be the squeaky wheel and get all 7 board members appointed to this organization. So I just wanted to point that out and applaud all of you for being here and making every one of our meetings work.
Well, we appreciate that. And I agree. It'd be nice to get additional board members on because, you know, all 4 of us have to be here to have a quorum at all times. So at least having one more so that we would always have a quorum would be beneficial to the organization. Any other comments, questions from board members for Dr. Tagata?
He couldn't help himself.
I couldn't. You know me too well.
With that, Dr. Alguez, do you have closing remarks?
I'll try to be really quick in order to make up for David speaking instead of not speaking. Thank you for your time and your continued support of Florida Virtual School. As always, anything you need, please feel free to reach out. We're available for you whenever you need.
Thank you. And with that, then I'll turn to our board members. Madam Co-Chair, Linda Reiter, closing comments.
This is the broken record time again. I'm going to, I just want to thank, you know, who we see here during the board meetings. I know there's a ton of people behind the scenes that are also doing a lot of work. And I just want to thank you all again for making us look as good as we possibly can. So thank you very much.
I agree. Board member Conor Harris.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, looking at the results and the growth and everything is truly amazing. You know, a lot of times I sit on boards and it's, you know, how do we make things work and fix this and fix that? But, you know, to sit here and not really have to fix anything, it's kind of, it's very nice, but, you know, it's surprising, but it's really going well. If I could just get a little bit of an update where we're at with the environmental science and the Guy Harvey, you know, virtual marine science. I was talking to Steve Roden yesterday to see, you know, when we could possibly roll out the education to the teachers, getting them on board.
Yeah, you want that right now? Because I can bring up Marty here and he can.
Yeah, I mean, if it's all right, I'd like to hear. I'd like the other board members to hear. I'm really a little biased here. I'm on the Guy Harvey Ocean Foundation. I'm really excited about bringing marine science to the K through 12 kids, and especially what's going on with the environment to get these kids, the future generation, educated. So it's just it's nice to hear that Florida Virtual School is stepping up to help that happen.
All right, Marty, if you could give an update on both the teacher training and the course development.
Yes, absolutely. We are scheduled to finish the environmental science course in early July. So it will be a course that's offered out in this coming school year. And we are working on the PD currently with the folks from the Guy Harvey Foundation. And we have the outline for the PD course piece that will feed into their efforts around the marine science centers around the state. So that stuff is moving forward as we speak. They've given us outline. They're now getting the materials that they want to include in that PD course. We've assigned an instructional designer to that effort. So at this point in time, that's moving along smoothly as well. We also will do an internal PE for our teachers teaching the environmental science course. The PD we're working alongside them with is for an overarching educational effort for just, general PD across the state around conservation and the environment.
Great news.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
Board member Pizzulli, any comments?
I have 3 quick comments. One is I want to thank Sam and his team in working through the executive comp issue. I think it's a sensitive issue, but it was an important one to finish up today. Second is I do think we need to continue to work through the general counsel's piece, and I would ask that the group continue to endeavor that to put something in place prior to for us to consider by next quarter's meeting. And then 3, I would reemphasize the point was made earlier around making sure we take the lessons learned, both good and bad, from the pandemic and how Florida Virtual played a significant role in meeting students' needs where students were at home and remotely. But I do think that's an important message for us to send, both what we did for Florida students and then the services provided by global outside of Florida. I think those are 2 important pieces that we have to capsulize and put in a form that we can talk about with elected officials and others in the department.
I agree. I concur with all those comments. And then for my part also, I would like, we always focus on the academic side of things because that's what it is. The students are going through and taking their classes and getting their AP scores and graduating, go on. But there is another part of it, which is the student life, the extracurricular and clubs and organization that really build out a student in what they do going forward. And it was nice to hear from Zachary and his comments on it. So I think it'd be good to get some more information on what the non-academic part of a virtual school student is and how they gain from those parts of it as going forward. That gives them that full rounded student experience as they go through FLVS, if we could, on doing that. And I also would like, I'd like to hear more on the global side, more, maybe that may be a workshop issue or a one-on-one issue that we have with us, but I would like to learn more in depth on the global side of things and how that's going and what the plans are to grow that into the future.
Will do.
And overall, again, I need to just echo everyone. Thank you for preparing all the materials for us. It flows well and easy to go through and understanding. And I thank my fellow board members for the discussion we had on the compensation. Everyone is able to openly and voice opinions and comments as we go through this, and it's better for the organization for us to be able to do that. So thank you to my fellow board members on that, and thank you to you, Dr. Alguez, for all that you do in keeping the organization as healthy as it is. So with that, I have
I'd like to just add to Ed's comment about general counsel. I agree with that, but I maybe even a little more of a global attempt, like like we do at our company. We take 10% of the bottom line and distribute it against the people who had effect on that. So maybe look at a more holistic approach to the organization.
I agree. That will be presented out, and it might be some options for us to consider as well, rather than just a single option.
Do we have any resources, Dr. Alguez, that we can go, the board or you can go to get opinions and recommendations for a bonus compensation plan?
Sure. We'll review some of the outside legal that we have. It could have some, again, like David said, we're unicorns, so it's kind of a little different than most of the organizations, but there are some that do similar things. So yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, we can get some recommendations.
Okay, sounds good. Any additional comments from board members? And again, Dr. Alguez, David, Sam, thanks for all that you're doing. And with that, this concludes today's meeting. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.